What's up everyone, it's Hurley and welcome to my very first YouTube tutorial and walkthrough for my new song, Free, which came out this past Friday. I thank you all for listening to it so far. I would love to show you my creative thought process in making this song. Once again, this is my very first video, so please make sure to go like, subscribe, and comment. I would love to get your feedback on this video. Still kind of working out the kinks, maybe hopefully getting a little bit better looking of a background other than just kind of a couple sweatshirts and a hat chilling on a door behind me. But let's go straight into the video and let you know where it all started. So basically I first started with this guitar pluck that I have right here. I had that, and then I actually layered it with these plucks here that I have. Just like very peaceful and calming. To fill up the space, you probably never, maybe didn't even hear it in the first place, but I have one string note actually just kind of playing the entire time throughout the entire first verse into the into the build-up actually. So, and that is just this. So just last thing I did to add to this is I made a respace on Serum as well. That just adds a lot of low end, and the contrast between that low end and all the high end elements just created a really emotional intro, which I loved. Like when I first heard it, I like almost started crying. All right, and then right after this point is when I started getting onto the piano. That's where I start most of my songs, and I was able to come up with this rhythm right here for the piano. After many tries, I may add to, this did not just come right away to me. I had repeated that until the 9th bar, but I actually wanted to change it up a little bit, so I changed some of the notes. And what I did from this point is I actually had to work backwards. So I took the chords from each bar of that rhythm that I just made, and I just played them full out. So just to, you know, because you don't want to start with that much energy, especially coming from such an emotional intro. So I just started with these chords. And having those hard-hitting piano chords after that intro just kind of really wakes you up a little bit. So it starts like very calming. Everything I know will be gone in a minute. And then once these piano chords come, it gets really... that was my favorite. That was one of my favorite parts of the song itself too. Just having that really nice intro and then just coming in really powerful with those piano chords. All right, so next I moved on here. We got the vocals. I got these from Splice. This is all I was able to get from Splice, was just these two parts right here, which is one verse and a chorus. So I had to figure out how I was going to make just those two things into a full song. So basically what I did was I took part of the chorus and I was able to chop it up into these sections right here. That's all I had at first, and what I knew was that I needed to vary it a little bit, so I added some more sections into the chorus part just to make it a little more interesting than just the same thing getting repeated over and over again. So that is this. And then to fill it up even more, I decided to kind of bring back just the full vocals, just so it's not just chops the entire time. So you're going back and forth between the chops and the actual vocals. So we have this. And one thing I actually really liked about doing this fill right here is it was actually the first time I had changed the format. It starts off as like a regular sounding voice, and then it kind of turns into this kind of lower sounding pitch. It's not lower pitched. It's very difficult to talk about, but you can kind of hear it just based off of how it is. So I really liked how that evolved, how it kind of like changed as the course of the phrase was going. All right, and as I mentioned before, this is the rhythm I had for the piano. I added a higher pitch to it, or higher pitched of the same piano chords. I made it a lot brighter and kind of hopefully made it pop out a little more in the chorus by adding this higher pitched piano. So we got together. And actually what I had originally done before I had the vocal chops was I had this other kind of rhythm that I was going to have do like a call and response with the piano. So I had this higher piano and this pluck right here that I was planning on using to fill up the gaps between the piano chords. So what we had originally was this. But that rhythm clashed way too much with the chops that I ended up using, so I had to take those out. And actually, now that I'm here, I'll show you, this is the original vocal chops that I was planning on having before I even had the splice vocals in, that I ended up having to take out as well because they didn't match with the splice vocals either, so. So for the leads, I used 2 horns and a synth, is basically all I used for that. 2 of the horns are the same thing, it's just one is a high pitch, one is a lower pitch. And then the synth I have has that kind of like pitch glide on it just to make things kind of like flow into each other a little bit, so all 3 of them together sound like this. And for basses, I have 3 as well. I usually work in numbers of 3 a lot. I don't really know why, if it's just a lucky number. But this is the rhythm I had and the style I had for the basses. Layered on top of the sub bass. These are all the drums I had right here. This is the kick I have right here. Just classic 4 on the floor, layered it with white noise. I got 3 claps. Once again, with 3. I have 3 hi-hats as well. I got 2 of them panned, one of them just doing the offbeat, and then I got the other 2 doing kind of like more rhythmic elements to it. Just a crash, some rides, some tops, and then actually the cool thing I have here is like a mouth click noise, like the that I was able to get off Splice. And then I have actually 3 other FX kind of sounds just to fill up the space, add a little more rhythm to it and a little more texture to the drums. So I have that, I have this, and I have this. So this is what the drums all sound like together. Alright, now going in after the chorus is this part I actually was essentially last minute. I was trying to figure out how best to transition from this chorus into the next verse, and I actually came up with this really cool idea where I took the piano chords that I used for the verse, and what I did was I just reversed the chords. So basically the chords I have on the end, which would be these ones right here, it's all the same, just repeated on both sides. So I flipped those to the front, made the second ones here, basically just reversed every single chord in the MIDI track, and I put a lot of reverb on it and recorded it into another track. What I did was, this is going to sound very confusing, I reversed them again, so basically now what we have is reverb sweeps going up into the original placement of chords that we had from the beginning. That was very confusing, but basically I'll just show you what I did here. So you can clearly tell that it's happening in reverse because everything kind of sounds, you know, it just simply sounds like it's in reverse. But because the MIDI chords themselves were in reverse, it actually ends up working out into the same thing that you would normally hear. The other problem I had too is basically I was only given 1 verse and 1 chorus for the vocals, so what I had to do here was I just had to improvise a little bit with, I used kind of more of what I thought was the more important parts of the vocals, and I was able to kind of make my own melody out of them just by pitching them up just in various ways, just to basically create my own second chorus. And what I was able to make was this. All right, Now, leading up into the build up as well, I learned this trick from a very famous YouTuber and producer, Jonas Aiden. I would highly recommend him if you haven't seen any of his videos before. He did this in his one of his latest songs, and he walked through it as well. Basically, he transitioned from his bridge to his chorus by just doing a very hard kick sidechain on basically every single element that was part of the song at that time. So what I did here was I used it for my vocals. I used it for piano. I used it down here for a sweep and an uplifter. And then we have the kick right here that just comes in for those 4 hits. It leads into this this build up right here where I bring in a completely new element. It's still kind of strings, but I made it much more orchestral by adding like very big chords of it, and I made them like pluck 2 every quarter beat. What we got for that is this, or actually every 8th beat, I guess. And we got basically every single element that we had from the beginning build up in it, so we got all this together. Alright, and now for this part, I'm also pretty proud of as well. It took me a pretty long time to do. I was trying to figure out and get the real correct sounds that I was looking for. It starts off with a clock noise. And then I have I guess it's a microwave bell, microwave ding, and a cash register, which I was trying to make just basically a cash register opening and closing. I have these toms. And then last thing I have here is kind of like a bullwhip sound. So I had to kind of like manufacture that myself out of 2 different things I found on Splice. Whoop. Finishes with just 1 snare hit. And then all of them together just sounds like this. I actually should have mentioned I have like a little riser right here too, which is what you also hear in the background. So another thing I did for this fill too is I automated the pan a lot throughout it. So kind of if you were listening to this in your car, for example, this clock would go from the right side of your car. So it would go from the passenger side to the driver's side. So it kind of goes back and forth throughout the fill. But then once the chorus comes back in, a lot of it is basically center again, just comes in very powerful with the rest of the chorus. So this is what it sounds like in context. Once again, I'll just play from around here. So that's basically all there is to the song. If you guys like what you heard, or if you've already heard it, once again, thank you for checking it out. And for those who you haven't heard it yet, it's available on all streaming platforms, so go out there and check it out. Thank you all for listening, and make sure once again to like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think of this video. Once again, it's my first video I'm posting on YouTube of a tutorial walkthrough, so I'm still trying to work out the kinks, so any kind of feedback I can get is absolutely incredible. Once again, thank you, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.